Hi guys, Ryan Bailey here, bringing you what is episode number 8 of the Ball Talk podcast. Today's podcast is with Kerins O'Reilly's and Kerry footballer Barry John Keane. Hope you enjoy it. We had a good laugh and there's plenty of stories worth sticking around for. Before we get into things, the podcast is sponsored by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. You'll check them out over on Instagram at adapt_sligo. Give them a follow if you can, and thanks again for the support. And let's get straight into the podcast.
There we go. So this is number 8 now, here with Barry John Keane, Kerrin O'Reilly's and Kerry footballer. How are you getting on?
I'm good, my man. I'm good. Myself?
I'm not too bad. How are you keeping during this lockdown?
We're doing fine. Look, with the way things are going, I think it's on the up. Like people are doing what they're being told, and hopefully the club football will be back soon. But I don't know. I'm just tipping away. For the club players, I suppose, just tipping away at home and stuff. And
that's it.
That's all they can do, really.
Yeah, you can just run is all we can do now at the moment. Like, get through the rest of the stuff now. We'll go straight into football. Talk about Kerry football. So you started off with them in 2010, and it's 10 years now since you would have started off. Have you own finished business there? Do you think you'll give it a go again? Because you're only 30, like so.
To be honest, and it's not cliche, like, but I don't really think of it as much anymore. So I've been a year away from it. Last year was a year away, and I got away to Boston for the summer. Personally, I still train probably harder now than I did when I was with Kerry, because at club level it wouldn't be, the way that the season's kind of split up. The level wouldn't be as high as county standard. So like those nights where you're with the county, you probably have 5 nights and 2 nights off. Those 2 nights off you probably should be taken off. Where at club level you can kind of do a bit extra, and practice your skills and maybe do extra gym session. So I know you're getting older, but you can kind of monitor and you have more time to do other things, which probably extended your career. Maybe, hopefully, that's the way I'm looking at it. So no, look, I don't regret the nine years I gave, because since I'm out of it a year, there's a lot more than football. Now, when I was in that bubble, it's hard to say that. Like, people who retired and they're still there saying, geez, there's way more to it. But at the time, it's everything. But since you do go away from it, I feel like sometimes I express myself better and more when I'm outside the panel, because of less pressure. You play better football, maybe. So I'm kind of just enjoying it more, where, of course, I did enjoy the challenge. And what I miss most about probably football with Kerry is the challenge and the pressure. At the time, I probably was like, everyone likes pressure to a degree, like, but when it's real pressure, you're like, Jesus, this is tough. But looking back, probably what I miss most is the crack and the friendships and that pressure when, like, you're thrown in for 20 minutes, you're getting 20 minutes. So I don't know, whatever way the game is or what scenario, you need to get a few scores, a few fouls. That's pressure. But looking back, I kind of miss that a bit. But on the other side of it, club level, I just enjoy myself and express myself, and it probably plays better for me.
Yeah. And just as you were saying there with the pressure, I was looking up today, just going off your career, you were saying about the pressure there and that. So I was looking up today, it says you had 37 championship appearances over the 9 years that you gave. 34 of them were off the bench, and you have 237 to your name as well. Was there that bit more of a pressure when you're talking about the pressure? Was there that bit more pressure with it, the fact that you're coming onto the field for whether it be 20 minutes or 5 minutes, and you've got to, you're expected to get a score to when you come on?
Yeah, so I suppose starting out, I went in at 19, and of course, like, the full forward line at the time was, I think, Gooch, Starr, and kind of Declan O'Sullivan was kind of in there, coming in and out, like. So at 19, to be honest, like, every young fella believes in themselves. But I know I did a chat with someone there recently, and I actually played Kerry 21 before, or actually played Kerry Senior before Kerry 21. Right. So it was kind of, I didn't know where I was at that young at 19 years of age. So I was thrown in and did okay in a few league games. I went back to the 21s and then was brought back in again. So I was kind of just riding the wave, really, like. And I was being brought on in sub, I suppose, in 2010 and 11, and I just kind of took it as a role. All right, the fellas that are there are better than me. Like, I'm happy just to be where I am. And I suppose in 2012, then I didn't see as much game time, or probably not playing as well as I should. And 13, then it kind of led to, like, I think we played 3D games, and we were kind of it was a new team really, and even though I was there 3 years or my 4th year, I still was probably the youngest being tried out, like, and we were getting absolutely destroyed. And look, I was called aside and said, look, I think we need to get away and play football, kind of. And I was happy to go to Boston, like, it was a weight off the shoulders. And I suppose starting from 2014 on, the fellas that came in were still my age group. There were likes of James O'Donoghue, Paul Gainey, and you Declan Sullivan still full forward, and then Danny at the end of the year came in full forward. So the still talent was there, and I kind of knew, like, even when I was playing out of my skin, that I was pushing and pushing, but it was always tight. And if it was ever a flip of a coin, they were probably going to get in before me. So I could have just thrown the ties out of the cot and said, look, this is not for me. I'm giving so much time. But I suppose, I don't know, that some come into my head or what and said, look, I can make a role for myself here that maybe I was looking around me and there wasn't much. And the only other fella I could think of that was making an impact and changing games, maybe not as much to the extent as me, but on the bigger occasion, he probably was doing it because Dublin were winning all the big games, or the normal games, easy. So when Kevin McMenamin was coming on, it was a massive gap. He still was making an impact, but we Kerry, we weren't winning by as much or leading by much, so it was kind of tighter in the games I was coming on. So I don't know, it was a by chance or kind of, I just made that impact role, and then maybe 4 or 5 years I just said, look, if I start, but my main aim is the game's going to be in the melting pot, or just kick on and make the team more comfortable when I come on.
Yeah, because, like, as you said there, to kick on, like you do. You were saying there, it was 2013 and 2019 you were in Boston.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, you thoroughly enjoyed that. Do you want to, like, tell us about your time out there both years?
Yeah, like, to be honest, I'd advise anyone to give it a go if they got the opportunity. I suppose the younger fellas coming through out of mine on 21, if you're not up to the level at senior level and you're being just brought in for, like, maybe to fill in, for an A versus B game, I think if that opportunity comes, you definitely should take it. Now, I'd advise them to enjoy their summer and live it up, like, but that break will give you, like, that there's no pressure and you'll enjoy it, and gives you more perspective to when you come back, or maybe 3 months over there kind of make or break you. Like, if you take it serious and want to get the most out of it, the coming year it's gonna help you trying to make county panel, or you could just enjoy the whole summer and it could put you back.
Yeah.
No, 13 was the big one for me. I remember when I got drafted, I just said to myself, look, I need to give up. I wouldn't be a heavy drinker, like, I rarely drank, but I just needed to. I suppose, look, I'll just give it up till I get back in. Like, it was a thing I just said to myself, even though people were like, sure, you gave 3 or 4 years and who knows, you're not going to be back in. But I knew I was always good enough to be back in. I just needed to get a few things in order. And that summer, I didn't even drink over there. And looking back, I think I was off the drink for over a year and a half. I didn't drink till we won the All-Ireland final the year after, I was brought back into the panel. So that was a massive it was kind of not a testament, but I kind of had a goal that's what I wanted to do. I didn't tap myself on the back when I got the call that I was back in, whatever, 8 or 9 months later. I just said, look, we'll just keep to the plan, and we had a nice few days after that, and I probably made it up for it.
I can imagine so. But yeah, like, as you said there, you're taking the break in 2013. You're coming back then 2014 and winning the All-Ireland. Like, how does it feel? I know it's like a Sligo man asking a Kerry man how does it feel to win All-Ireland, but, like, what is it like?
I suppose, like, before I say anything, winning Kerry is nothing really, to be honest. Like, I'm delighted and lucky to have one. Like, and that year, if you look back, we were very lucky to win one. Like, because Mayo probably should have beaten us the first 2 days, the first day and the second day in that semi-final. I suppose we were just stubborn and just never gave up. And I remember telling Kieran Donaghy, he enjoyed this one. He was the Galway game. I think I came on and I was coming on. We were up 4 points, so we were kind of comfortable enough. And I remember Micheál Lundy and Damien Comer were actually playing for Galway when I was with them the summer previous in Boston. Like, so it was nice to see 2 fellas as well that were enjoying their summer, and then the following year were playing for their county, same as myself. But Lundy actually got a great goal. Say there was 20 minutes left, and it brought it back to a point. And I was kind of aiming, was kind of giving me advice of, look, just if you get a few frees or pop a few over. And then his advice changed in the blink of an eye. He got the goal, and they said we need to be clinical here. We need to be whatever. So I came on anyway. I get 3 or 4 points from play, but we won by about 5 that day, and it was good. It was a good game leading into it. It was open football, and it was a good game leading into the semi-final. But Mayo just came out gun blazing, and I remember Kieran got no run against Galway, and I see most fellas would have just packed it in and said, look, I got the most out of my career here. The younger fellas coming, and to be fair to me, he hung around and they threw him in when the game was over. We were down 6 points maybe with 5 or 6 minutes to go, I don't remember, and he caught a ball for us, and I remember like I caught 2 kickouts that I wouldn't be out there at all, like, and he said it to me after. He's like, "Geez, I've never seen you catch them before." And before I came on, he was like, "What were you thinking?" Like, and to be honest, I was like, "Jesus, we don't win the semi-final here. We're going to get no holiday. If we don't get to the final." He was forced his whole laugh. He goes, "Well, think like that all the time." So, and that was only a joke between ourselves that I'd share away the odd time. But the second day, then Mayo had a massive start again. They were up 6 or 7 points, and we won by 3, I think, in extra time. But it was up and down, the penalties, goals. It was a cricket score, but I think that gave us the confidence to go in against Donegal after they beaten Dublin by, was it 10 points in that day, and could have been more. That we need a system, and to be we played a way that we never played before, but we probably thought that was the only way we were going to beat them, like, and it probably was. We just had enough. Now we had a lot of wides that day, but I think if we went out 15 on 15, they probably could have ran on us more and opened us up. But I think, in fairness to him, and he got the structure right, and thankfully we got over the line.
Yeah, and you were saying there the holidays. Do you have a holiday every year?
No, that's what I mean. You only get a holiday if you get to the final.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a semi, and I was just hopping ball up and saying, "Geez, we'll get no holiday this year, no."
And Claire, talk to me about the system kind of down there in Kerry. And I suppose people have mixed opinions about it. The whole captaincy situation. Your club wins the senior championship, and then whoever is representing the club on the county panel is the captain. Then, do you think that's something that should be across the country? Do you think it's a good incentive for guys to stand up?
Yeah, like I've grown up with that scenario, so I don't really look outside the box to anything else. Like, I'm for and against it. It doesn't bother me much. I think every year that I was involved, and every year that someone was nominated captain, probably Cropes won the most when I was playing with Kerry, so it was always one of them. But I think every person we had was actually a good leader. It fell nicely for them. Like at the moment, with East Kerry winning last year, like David Clifford's only is he 21? Like, you could say it's a lot of pressure for a young fella, but like I don't think it bothers him. Like, I don't think he loses sleep. He's just very easy going. He just wants to go out and enjoy football, and they're just little add-ons. I think he's really mature, and he's accepted that role, and I think he has nearly a 30-year-old shoulders on him, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of there's a lot of leaders in that dressing room. Like David might only have a little say at the end or say something, but don't worry, there's a lot of leaders behind there and giving advice and pushing it on that don't need to be told that they're a leader, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean, yeah. We're just going to skip into the questions that were sent in.
Yeah.
I know we have plenty to talk about now with your team selection as well. So, first question, Boston 2019, and I suppose for 2013 as well. Who would have been the best player that you played with?
Best players I played with, so I suppose in 2013, Kevin Hartnett, who would be on the team there a while ago from Clare. I was with him in college in 2010, and then I met him in Boston again. And just like it's a two full forward line, like, so like there's a lot of space for a jinky forward, and he's so sticky, like, and I just look back, like, if he was with a better, no offense to Clare, like, but if he was with a very good, say, system and a better team that's going for All Ireland's, like, he'd be up there with the best of them. Like, he's so tight, and like, he's staying with Clare, and I suppose you could say, like, if they didn't have the defence system that helped around him, like the Dubs have, and say the other teams, the northern teams, like, he'd be very safe, like, and easily to mark a good fella. So, like, the way I look at it, if he can mark you when there's a lot of space, what will he do when there's bodies back, like, you know?
Yeah.
So he'd be one of them. There was, this a long time ago now in my head, with this pandemic, there was actually a fella I met when I was going over from Sligo. He played midfield for Sligo. I haven't met him or heard of him since then in 2013, but poor creator, he got bitten 3 days in, and he was in hospital for the 2 months. He lost like 3 stone.
Oh, Tony Taylor, was it?
That was it, Taylor, yeah. Yeah, nice fella. He did one training session and he was unbelievable and he was looking forward. And then, I don't know, he texted me on the job that he got a bite one day and I was like, sure, there's loads of them around. And then, poor creator, he was, I say, 6 to 8 weeks, he was stuck in hospital on a drip.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, who else was there now that year that I played with? There was, Jesus, my head's gone back. A lot of them that year were actually home based. So they would have they would have lived over there, but they could have been Irish. I suppose this year we were probably stacked the most. We'd Ray Kennellan from Westmeath. He was just back from the Aussie Rules. He was with us. You'd Shane Carty, who was on the Dublin panel for a few years.
Yeah.
Then you had the likes of Kieran Murta. He captained Roscommon for the Connacht there. Was it 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. You Mark Bradley from Tyrone. And you had Gary Walsh from Laois.
They're like stacked. They were named all together.
Yeah, like Diarmuid Connolly was supposed to be there, like, so that would one of us wouldn't have been on, put it that
way. Actually, the next question comes from a man who was on the podcast only a few weeks ago, and judging by the question, I'd say people know who it is. Who was better crack on the rip, Mark Bradley or Ronan McNamee?
Oh, that's Matty Donnelly anyway. Both are good, to be fair, but I'd say McNamee had 2 or 3 days when I met him. I said there wasn't much sleep, so I'd say he was fit. He was fit just for the bed. But no, the whole summer with Mark and gentleman, great little fella, serious baller.
Yeah.
We used to call him the wee man, like he was just tiny, but he bunch of skills, like, and just very, very good and so down to earth. And good summer with him now, and he's a freak athlete, ripped to the bone, and all he eats is pizzas and chips, like, and it's just the kind of fella that would wreck a fella's head.
I'd say there's some stories about him though. I'd say you wouldn't have asked the question now if there wasn't a few stories to go with it. From your time playing with Kerry, who would have been, I suppose, the joker in the panel or the prankster or whatever?
You're probably looking at him. No, there was a few there. There was a good few fellas. I throw myself in there, but no, every fella has their different crack. Like, but I suppose the back of the bus, Gooch liked coming back to the bus. He had a few good stories, but he's more of a listener and enjoyed. I'd be the old tonguey, like, so he enjoyed the old crack. Danny was good to give it and take it, to be fair to him. Who else is there now? A few dark horses. Then Fionn Fitzgerald, you'd have to watch out for him. You could come back in and the laces of your shoes that you just bought are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they could be in the ice bath. A lot of that kind of crack, like, so. No, there's a good few. The O'Sheas were, Jesus, if you got the O'Sheas, you'd be doing well, but I remember someone caught them for something, and he went back to the car the following session, and there was 3 or 4 salmon in the car, stinked out the whole car.
Christ's sake.
So, like, you have that crack, like, but that's what you miss the most. Like, grand, you win, you have the medals and all that, but it's the banter is the best to be there.
Yeah, no prisoners taken either.
No.
What would have been? Would that have been up there with the salmon? Would that have been up there with the best pranks that you would have seen? Or the best pranks you would have pulled either, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I suppose there's times in the National League games they're serious, of course, no, but if you had to go up the morning there and you went up like maybe Saturday morning, you do a full day to maybe relax and you get serious as the night goes on. But some fellas ended up they'd have their 2 to a room, like, and they'd come back after a meeting and there's nothing left in the room, like their mattresses could be in someone else's room, the bed could be somewhere else, you know, that kind of crack. And I suppose people change, and you could be 311 and taking a 1 off and putting a 3 on, and you don't even know where your room is. The key's not working, and you're just like, this is definitely my room. So there'll be all those. I presume they happen in most company setups anyway. There's always one messer. Looking at I suppose Darren McCurry there from Tyrone. He looks a bit of a messer, like, so I say he'd be up to that old stuff as well.
Yeah, it's good. It's good though as well. Like that, even from Matty Donnelly a few weeks ago, saying that you have the crack as well. It's not all as serious as it is in the 70 minutes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, if you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be there. I always say that to say fellas if they ever need advice, or they're just kind of, you know, on the extended 26, or they're not getting game time but they're on the panel. look, if you're not enjoying it, like, we're not professionals, we're amateur, we're playing it because we love it. But if you're not enjoying it, go back to the club, you'll enjoy it more. And a year with the club could actually benefit you more than a year sitting on your hole with a county. Like, you can go backwards. Like, I've seen it with hundreds of people like that. Some people are happy just to be there and you get the gear and, like, you're kind of put up on a pedestal and whatever, but you need to be playing, like, because your career just goes with a blink of an eye, like,
Yeah. The next question then I've got is your favourite pair of boots and your favourite shoes as well, because on your Instagram you like the runner seating.
I do. Oh, I suppose with the runners, I wouldn't have a favourite. Like, I'm fond of all of them. To be fair, it's like being fond of any colour. Like, I know you have a favourite colour, but I like every colour, that kind of way. So if I could go with a logo, I suppose I'd be a Nike man. If I'd go, I'd probably have more Nikes. But with the boots, the last 2 years, I went off the rails altogether. I'm more of an Under Armour man. I have a skinny foot, so it's a perfect fit. Like, it's like a pair of spikes. Actually, it's so light. So I like the Under Armours last years, but I suppose the best boot I've ever seen is probably, I had one pair at home, and I'd probably just keep them for the small fella, like the Predator Manias. They're the old ones, like they're not the remakes, but worn them maybe twice. I have a pair of them. They're probably the best I've ever seen, like, made. And I think if you put up a poll and ask what's the most favourite boot, you probably get the most percentage on a Predator Mania, to be fair.
100%, yeah. How many pairs of shoes do you have? If you go with a number.
I actually have never counted. Like, I throw up a pair there on most days, and people be asking how many. I actually just want to keep going till I run out of them. But there's definitely over 50 anyway. But I go for 100. I go for hundreds, yeah. But a couple of these could be 10 years old, like, and they're just kept clean. Like, I put them in the box. Like, I have OCD, like, so they're more of a collector's item. Look, like I said, I don't really drink, like, so a weekend there, a good weekend, you could spend 100 quid. Like, if I'm not going out, sure, why not just get it there or something that I like, that kind of way.
Yeah. Sticking on the sort of the topic of clothes as well. Your favourite Kerry jersey?
My favourite Kerry jersey. Do you know what? There's been a nice few Kerry jerseys, but I actually think the Kerry jersey at the moment, the gear is actually nice that I actually didn't get. But I suppose the gear Paul Galvin actually designed there was 2 years ago or last year. There was a nice the gold Kerry jersey we could wear it against Mayo.
Yeah.
I know people liked it and some people disliked it because I suppose maybe the outsiders probably liked it, but the older generation of Kerry, like, there's no gold in Kerry, direct kind of way, and there's no black, so maybe they didn't like it. But as a young fella growing up, and I presume a kid like that's into his O'Neill's gear and likes his gear, I think would be the best present you could get. The same as maybe Dublin jersey is, they're probably baby blue, you could say, but if a white training top came out, sure, people would love it,
Yeah.
I don't know, I might be wrong with colours, like, but I know Sligo, I suppose you could say, are black, like, but if they got a red training top or something, or if they win red and in a away jersey, you think, geez, that's the nicest thing ever, that kind of way.
100%, yeah.
So, like, a replica jersey, I suppose, when Kerry had the Adidas ones, if you wanted to get one that you couldn't get, it was probably one of them. I know it was a 96, they had an Adidas. There's ones by Adidas, they had the strings as well. Maybe that's
it's all over that GA Gear Swap page on Facebook. There's people doing their best to get them. They're all there, God.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I'll never forget. Just thinking of it now, actually, thought about it. Since when I was under with the 21s, there was loads of that gear, and there was loads of tracksuits from and skinnies wouldn't have been in at the time. This was when I was like 21, 2010. There was loads of skinnies from Ogie Moore and Bomber Listons days when they won the 5 in a row or the 4 in a row, and that was the 80s or whatever. And we were messing. A few of us went in messing, trying them on, and we wore them, like, and they were pure replica now of like what people are trying to remake, like, and we just threw back in the bag after, like, so we never wear them. But I say someone got their hands on them and they were putting them away, like the badge was old crest badge and like half it might have been only on. They were unreal skinnies now stuck to you, but sure, it was baggy gear back then, and we thought, geez, these are cat. We're looking back, geez, if we got a hold, there was a full bag of them, like, but they're the good old stories, I suppose you could keep.
Yeah, that's savage gear as well. That wraps up the questions now. I'm going to go down to get into the tough stuff now with the 15 you selected. So for anyone that hasn't seen the podcast yet, I asked Barry John to make up 15 of the best footballers that he's played with. Now you're supposed to be in it yourself, but you've taken a bit of an exception there.
You could throw me in as a super sub. You could throw me in as a sub.
Do you want to start off? We'll start off from the number one spot, I suppose.
Yeah, so that was tough enough, to be fair. There was 3 goalies that I played with that were very close, and 2 be the same style, but I went with probably who I played with the most, and that was Brendan Keeley. I just think at the time Cluxton was the one with the kickouts, and he was very close to what he was doing, like, and probably didn't get enough credit to where he might have got. But no, he had a soccer background as well. Like, I remember just looking back now as a young fella, because the skill level was so high in Kerry, like, you wouldn't take much notice. But looking back now, he was taking like 45s off the ground, both legs. He was kicking the kickouts. It didn't matter if it was a left leg or right one. He didn't have to turn his body. He was just pinging them out. And like, that's not just pinging them just to get them out. Like, they were sticking the fellas on the move. So that is just a skill in its own. Like, and I know keepers are improving, and there's keepers coming out now and playing an extra man, but he could play outfield for his club. Like, I have no problem. Like, he might be able to get around as much, but if he got the ball, like, he will kick scores, like outside the boot, anything. Yeah. So that I went with him for number one anyway.
Well, I'll let you roll on there. 2, 3, or 4 full back in there.
Yeah, so number two was probably the easiest one. Mark O'Shea, to me, probably the best cornerback to ever put on a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Had so many battles with him in training. I remember as a young fella going in, and I was probably, at the time I was only 19, and there's a few fellas that were, I suppose, Q-tours, what we call down in Kerry. They've been around the panel a few years more than me, and so as a forward, when you're playing A versus B, 15 marks 2 and 13 marks 4 or whatever, it always adds up to 17. But for some case, every time when we went into the huddle, whoever was in the other corner would pretend he wants to get an old sprint, and he'd fuck off into the other corner, and I'd be left with Mark. So I was like, geez, I'm getting caught here again. And but I remember then at 20th, and you know, it probably was affecting me getting on to start, because the fellow who was marking the other cornerback, sometimes he could have been injured, so they just brought in someone, and he could have had a great session, and he'd be like, geez, he's flying, we'll put him in. So I was probably losing out, but I said in the long run, if I wanted to be a better player, if I wanted to extend my career with Kerry, why not just go in on Mark and get the most out of him? If I come away with something, like, if I can get something out of him, I'll get something out of anyone. And you know, that was the way I thought, and we'd massive battles and massive respect between the two of us. Like, and I remember the days I came home and my mom would say, how'd you get on? I was like, oh, we just did a half an hour, I kicked 4 from playoff, and she's like, you don't seem too upbeat. And I was like, yeah, he bait me out to 5 balls as well. Like, so that's how good he was. Like, he didn't give up. Like, he just kept going and kept going. So he's our number 2. I suppose number 3, you could have played this fella anywhere, but at the time, I suppose I played, what I picked these on are probably like there's fellas there that are, I'll name out at the end, that are on the subs, but I might have only played a year or 2 with them. You know, they might be better than the fellas that in other people's eyes, but to me, I played the most with these fellas. So Aidan O'Mahony's number 3. Why number 3? I suppose he played most of his career outfield, but when we needed someone to step up, I was 24 in 2014 when the All-Ireland final. He was 34. He's 10 years on me. He went on Michael Murphy, who to me is probably one of the best footballers in the last 20 years. And if we could keep him to a degree where he wasn't going to cause havoc, we knew we had a massive chance. And I thought Aidan, that day, he set the tone on him. He was all over him. He plagued him. He was knocking off him. And there's no better man to just give it his all, like, and such a team player. And I just couldn't leave him out, to be honest. A leader on and off the field, to be honest.
100%.
So then we've a 4. Many people might know this fella, but Kevin Hartnett, like we spoke a while ago, he's from Clare. I played college football with him, and I played with him in Boston, just a sticky cornerback. I remember when we used to be playing Clare, and look, to be honest, they probably got close 1 or 2 days, but over the 10 years, we gave him a few touches, and to be fair, he never gave up, and he always had to mark the hardest player, if it was Gainey some days, or if it was James. And I know from saying to the lads, they're like, Jesus, for a team that was being slaughtered, like, he kept playing, he wasn't giving any easy ball in. So that, I think there you have to give a bit of respect to a fella like that. So we'll give Kev number 4. Number 5, I suppose one of the best number 5s to me that has ever, probably between himself and his uncle, I suppose, Tomas O'Shea. A fan favourite, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyone you ask, solo with the right hand and solo with the left leg. Just an unbelievable player. Doesn't say much in the dressing room for the 3-4 years I had there. Anyway, he might have been a bit louder when he was younger, but he just performed. 2 secs there, just plugged this in.
It's out.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, Tomas is probably number 5. I don't have much to say about him. His name will do the talking. So number 6 and 7 were tough calls. So like I said, I went with kind of more my own age group that I've played with. So for number 6, we went with Peter Crowley. I suppose a rock in defence. Suppose how would I explain him as a teammate? Probably very unselfish teammate. Very good to the younger fellas that are coming in to give him advice when maybe his own role could have been in jeopardy. I just think he leaves everything on the line. For a fella who, I suppose, he's still probably 6 foot and probably 13.5 stone, but Jesus, if there's a fella coming through the middle, a big fella, like I remember it was a few years ago, 2014, I say a league game, so Colin Cavan or someone was coming through who's a big man, like, and he just left the shoulder down and just absolutely cleaned him. Like, he's just, for a back, he's dim. Like, for a forward, it could be a big score or a goal, but he's kind of one of them backs where you get a blocker or a turnover shoulder and it changes momentum of a player again, you know. So Peter would have to be there. And then number 7, I suppose, to me, I call him Mr. Reliable, and I think he's been Kerry's most consistent back since I've been in there. Would be Paul Murphy. I think you can play him anywhere at club level. I remember for Kerry for 1 year, his debut, he was on the 40, and he scored 1-1 against Clare, like, you know. So he can play anywhere. And it was funny. I always say to him, we had a club game in 2013, and that was the year I went to Boston. And to be honest, I only heard of Paul that he played with the 20s, 21s at the time, and I was marking him, and we just played 40 minutes, 2 20-minute halves, because if we won, we got to the county final, and if they just had the game was mean nothing to them. And I remember I kicked about 10 points. I kicked about 10 points from playoff him, and I seen he got called in a few weeks later, and I got no phone call, and I was like, for fuck's sake. But no, he went on to be man of the match of the All-Ireland final and an All-Star, like, so the joke was on me by the end of that. But no, good guy, great leader, and he'll take that number 7. Massive competition there, but I gave him the nod for that.
That's spot on.
So I suppose midfield, I might be a bit biased now, but look, I played with a lot of good midfielders, and to be fair, I've been mostly inside the full forward my whole life, so I can only go by fellas who might be kicking in the ball to me, and I suppose primary possession when the ball comes out, when you need it, like, you have to win it. And 2 of them are my own clubmen, and 2 of them battled for Kerry too. So I suppose my first one will be David Moore. I suppose, look, everyone knows what he's been through, 2 cruciates. Probably missed a half a season with an eye. He got an eye cut in his eye as well, and he'd get surgery. So, like, for a fellow to come back from 2 cruciates and to lead Kerry in All-Ireland final days against probably one of the best midfielders I ever seen, Fenton, and go toe to toe with him, like, he gets the respect straight away there, and I presume everyone else who have ever marked him would say the same.
Yeah.
Then our next midfielder would be Mike Quirk, who's he's manager of Laois at the moment. So when I was a young fella coming in, I just couldn't believe how this fella could just catch. I think one of the years, like, throughout the whole year, he's something like 11 clean kick-out catches every game. It was his average, and I was just like, it was phenomenal. Like, and even the Kerry fellas coming in, Darragh O'Shea, Seamus Scanlon, like, he might have been as athletic as him when they came to county level, but just winning primary possession when you needed a ball and the game was on the line, and, like, you didn't want to do a short kick-out and you needed just to get it. That man just came out trumps, like, fellas hanging off him, and he just catch, like, and he'd unbelievable slick hands for a footballer and a big man because of basketball. Like, he played with Ireland for years. So 2 of them, I suppose, be my 2 midfielders, which just, you'd have Anthony Maher there and Brian Sheehan, who we just losing out, who are 2 unbelievable players in their own game as well. Like, but I just went with the two boys there.
Yeah. Just before you go on there, you've mentioned, I suppose, 2 or 3 times now, you're saying with yourself, like, you'd be fond of basketball. Obviously, Kieran Donaghy with the basketball, me, All Cork as well. how important is basketball for like down in Kerry, like in terms of like progressing you as a footballer? Like, would it be a sort of thing that it's played in the winter, or like is it drilled in with the club, or is
Yeah.
it just?
No, like to be fair, the club that I played with growing up were St. Brendan's, and to be no like connection with football, if that makes sense. Like the fellas that are kind of look after would have a club, like a football club, but they wouldn't be like whatever. It's actually in the previous years, in the winters, like I played it till I was, I think maybe in school, so I was 18, and then football came and I had to play that. But I missed it. Like I played soccer too, like till that age too. But I missed the basketball the most. And I was average enough, but as I went on, I actually got better. And I probably at my best I gave up when I was actually improving. So I just missed it, and it's like you can see little dummies there that I'd have, and if someone asked, I'd be like I don't know where this came from. Then looking back, it was the basketball. Like, and I could, if you gave me 15 fellas like at a club game up in Sligo, and you goes pick out the fellow who plays basketball there, I'd know straight away by just his vision, and he'd see 2 or 3 players ahead, you know.
Yeah, because we like say now even seeing like David Clifford, for example. Now you can see the way he can move the ball around as like kind of sort of pivot on the spot and stand in one position but completely rule out the dummies. And like we played college football there, freshers last year. Played with a few of the Kerry lads, the likes of Brian Lonergan and Sean O'Leary and Donald O'Sullivan. You can even see with them, you know, like Lonergan's keeper in those games, or he'd play outfield, and sure he'd be making an ass in the full back line. Like.
Yeah, I think like you can say, and he'd tell you himself, Kieran Dunn, he at the start was only a basketball player, but he worked on his game and his game improved, so then he could mix his basketball with his football. Like all them catches, you could say, Jesus, that was some catch, but like he's positioning his body, so he's boxing out a fella in basketball, so he can't get to the rebound of the board. So he's positioning the exact same way that ball is pretending to come. I know it's coming from a big distance and higher up, but he's positioning himself that the fella's there, and then he holds on to it. Now he's a pair of hands now, like shovels, like so. It looks like only a tennis ball to him, like, but he still catches it. But that's the easiest thing to do. He was passing it off for years. But like them fellas were saying, oh, could he score? And then he started sticking goals in All-Ireland finals. He's the most goals I know in All-Ireland. Like, so, you know. So I'd agree, it does help. It does help.
Yeah, 100%. I actually saw yesterday there, it was in the Western People, the newspaper there in Mayo, and there was 2 fellas, I can't think of their first names, Kennedy and Marsh is their name. They would have been involved with Ballynab, basketball team Ballynab. They would have been good in very good in the early 2000s, won All Irelands and that. And they were actually coaching the Mayo seniors there for the start of the year. It was, but it just shows that it's kind of coming more and more. Well, more counties are getting involved, I suppose.
Or like you can see the Dubs there from a forwards point of view. I know they had someone in there, but if you ever noticed, like if you want to look back at games, in the big games, like they've always looped on top of the D, and it looped and looped and looped, and they'd be screening fellas to get the shot off. Like they wouldn't just pull the trigger; they'd wait to see who gets the biggest percentage of free space. Like you could just pretend walking, you're not involved, and you're like that, rather than screening a fella and it'd be a free out, you know. But they have that down to T. And Kerry, we've tried that. We practiced it. Kieran brought it in, and to be honest, like if you don't watch basketball or you don't play basketball, you probably won't get it as quick. But if you messed around, even you'll understand that. Okay, I know what he means. And like I just think the 1-2's there, and just like do pass the fella inside, and you come off him. He can take out your man when he's releasing that ball. Like pretend that, oh geez, you're in my way, and you're gone. You know. So I think it is massive, and I like playing it in the winter. I go back to the club, and it could be any level, like, but it's a bit of crack anyway.
Yeah. Well on. We'll go on to the half-hour line there.
So we go to half-hour line. We've Paul Galvin, I suppose, a fan's favourite. He always had the style, like, but my God, was he tough as nails.
Yeah.
It could be fucking do good. Throw 20 fellas in to get a breaking ball, and he'd just come out some way, squeezing, coming out with it, like, and look, he's been blackguarded, and he blackguarded others, and he might have drawn it on himself, but Jesus, he always brought it. Like, he always brought it, and he's Mr. Kerry. Like, he loved Kerry. Like, once that jersey was on, like, he was absolutely obsessed with Kerry football, with just Kerry in general, and like, he had way more to his game than people thought. That he was just a worker, a dog, or getting around. Like, he was an unbelievable passer. He could chip in with scores. like what a player he'd be in today's game, like getting around, even and like you could throw him probably
link up play and everything like.
And like what's he now? He's probably 40, 41. He's still be able to play club football at least, and like he's in serious shape.
Yeah.
So he'd be my number 10. My number 11 probably up there, one of the best I've ever seen. Declan O'Sullivan. When people ask me how good is he, I suppose I try to explain Gooch is the best ever, and then he's the closest thing to the Gooch. That's like he's just unbelievable, stubborn leader, unbelievable footballer. The way he can just go through the middle and just hand fellas off, and he was just so comfortable on the ball, just taking tackles, and he'd work like a dog. And just, like everyone knows really how good he was, and the battles he used to have with the Tyrone boys was. Even just talking to Mark Bradley, like that how much they respected him as well as of a footballer he was. So that says it all, really.
Yeah.
I suppose number 12, I couldn't leave him out, so I had to put him in there. People will probably say I'm like the all-stars now, horses for courses, and just throwing someone in there. But to me, the most consistent forward since I've been in with Kerry is probably Paul Ganey. Like it was, of course, himself and James are very close to what they've achieved. And even though James is probably, they say they have 2 All-Stars each, and James probably has the Player of the Year over him, but I just think James has been unfortunate with a few injuries and stuff, and I think Paul on the big day, like he just brings it. Like some of his scores, if you look back on once the final days, are absolutely ridiculous. Like 1-3, 2-4, 2-5 from play, like just speaks for itself. And then when it comes to the big games against Dublin, like he always produces. He could have the toughest back, and he always seems to come out with 3 or 4 points. And that 3 points against Dublin is massive. So look, I will give him 12, even though he should be in the full forward line, but you might leave him off.
Yeah.
I suppose the full forward line will probably full forward line was probably the easiest to pick, even though there was a lot of good contenders. I suppose, look, to me, Gooch is probably the best I've ever seen, and probably will be one of the best ever to be seen. Just how would I explain him? Just a genius.
Yeah.
Just 2 or 3 steps ahead all the time. Just magic. Then the big man inside full forward, Donaghy, probably the best leader I've ever played with. Just so good at encouraging, and just he's the one. You could say it about Cullen, but I think out of all the fellas I've picked between himself and Clifford, he's one fella that can just change a game with one play. That's a very hard thing to do. Like you could be 6 points down and he only does a play that gets you a free to get a score, and you're still 5 points down, but that momentum could change from that just catch or that whatever he does. So look, he's a good friend of mine, and he's one up there with the best leaders I've had. Never mind just all the football he's brought to Kerry and changed the way of football. How many clubs and counties try to put in a big fella at 14, like when he did it, like
Yeah.
So we'll give it to the big man. And I suppose 15 then, where you were trying to squeeze me in there. I had to put the king in there. I had to put Clifford in there. Like since a minor to just now, like he's just been unbelievable. Like he's just been, I don't know, there's no words for him. When fellas ask me what's he like or whatever, like he's so down to earth. You wouldn't even know he played football. Now he's so into football. He's very similar to me. Like he'd know fellas who play with Sligo cornerback, and he'd never played Sligo. That kind of way. He'd watch all games and everything.
Yeah.
And you'd have the likes of James then, who unfortunately was very lucky not to get in. James wouldn't know a fella who's probably training the previous Tuesday night with Kerry. Fella. James, like, who was that in the last night? For Dave would know from when he wasn't even born. So that was good connection I had with him, just talking about all games and looking at things. So like he is the future. So that's my 15, I suppose. Look, I didn't include myself, so I'll give myself the bench anyway.
Yeah.
Then you'd some legends with a lot of all-stars here. You Tom Sullivan from Rathmore, unbelievable, probably 5 All-Irelands. You Mike McCarthy for who was centre back and full back for Kerry. Oh no. Sorry there. Then you'd probably one of the best kickers ever, Brian Sheehan, who loses out. You'd Anthony Maher, who was classing for Kerry for years. The closest thing to probably Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea. Like he probably deserves to be there, but Declan O'Sullivan, he's on the way to be as good as Declan O'Sullivan, but he's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
But to what he's done so far, he's definitely up there with he's going to be a legend. Then you have the likes of Darren O'Sullivan, who in ways would have been similar to me coming on, but he played a lot more games where he started and has been I haven't seen a forward with that pace since, and just gone, like, absolutely just
legend.
Sometimes he was just nearly too fast and the poor old hamstrings used pop. Then we had, who was very unfortunate to lose out instead of Paul Ganey, who was one of my favourite players for Kerry and didn't get the credit over the years, would be Donica Walsh. Unbelievable engine. So unselfish for the team. Used to get ridiculous mileage with them GPSs. Like, they must have been about to blow up, I say. So he was very unfortunate. Now, if you asked everyone that was here who they'd have on their team first, it would be him. You know, in a way. And look, I just went with what I've, like, he, of course, he's been unbelievable. He's going to be on the team sheet every day. But this is for, say, my team that I thought that are how they're kind of my type of players as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then you'd have Declan Quill. He'd be a club mate of mine. He played for Kerry for years. He'd be up there, one of the sweetest left legs I played with. I suppose I'd have to get in one of my buddies, Barry John Keane, who would be Tommy's younger brother. He was like Clifford when he was a minor. He played 1 or 2 years with Kerry. He was just ridiculous how good he was, and he just didn't succeed. Probably years on, probably lost interest in it to what others have, which is fine. But at the time, he was the man. I'll have to put Big Tommy there as well, his brother, my club mate, who he find it hard to push Star out, but on his day is as good as him, as a big man. And then lastly, I suppose James O'Donoghue. I didn't like the subs. I didn't put in order. I just threw them down. But like 2 All-Stars, like what could he have achieved if he didn't pick up all the injuries and niggles, you know?
Yeah.
So like Jesus, there's a lot of All-Ireland medals there. There's a lot of All-Stars there. That wasn't easy. Nothing was probably personal, bringing fellas in or bringing fellas out. Probably left out fellas too. Like the list could go on. There's like Killian Young, Seamus Scanlon. There's a lot of good players that were there, and upcoming players. Tom O'Sullivan for Kerry got an All-Star. One of the best backs I've seen. Like, could be as good as what I put down, but I only played with Tom for a year or two. So like, if you rang me in 5 or 6 years, the teams might change.
100%, yeah. Yeah, it's sort of the panel, I suppose, you put together there. It's lads that you could swap any of them in or out. Well, nearly all any of them in or out. Like,
it's like the Dubs. You're taking off maybe. You could be taking off Paddy Andrews and you're bringing in Bernard Brogan or Cormac Costa, like, or actually bringing in someone better, like, or as good, you know. So that's what I kind of went for, to be honest. I gave 3 backs, 2 midfielders, 4 forwards. What a kind of panel would be on a game day, you know.
Yeah. So that's the 15. That's the panel. You had to pick a captain.
Oh, captain. Oh, a lot of leaders there. To going back to the ages and going through the trenches and justify that team in front of me, who I'd like to see with the armband. I know we don't wear armbands, but I'd love, like, out of all the fellas, I'd love to see lift the samovar would be Gooch. Like, after all, he's done for Kerry, 8 All-Stars, 5 All-Irelands, never got a Player of the Year, but I know he's not your captain as people want as a captain. Like, they probably want your more rough and tumble fella. Yeah. I'd love Gooch to lift it, but if I had to give the captain's armband and get everyone going, I suppose, and set the tempo, it would probably be Paul Galvin. Just to set the tempo. And I just know, like, from the years that he was probably gone from the panel, he still felt like he was there, and he just loves Kerry, and people probably get a different perspective of him, like maybe on social media or dress sense, but if you know him, like, he give anything for Kerry, like, you know.
100%, yeah. I think that wraps up the podcast for now. Barry John, thanks a million for joining me.
No problem, man.
I've been the housemate of mine. She's been banging on to me now for the last 2 months to get a Kerry man on, so finally got it done.
I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I just finished recording now.